Hello. When are you planning to set off? When are you planning? When are you going? When are you planning to set off? Emprender viaje is to set off, con doble F. To set off. Before setting off, before you set off, before setting off, I recommend looking at a map. Yes. Otherwise, you could get lost. You might get lost. You could get lost. You may get lost. And it's not very pleasant to get lost. When was the last time you got lost? Perderse por ahí. Entre las calles. En el barrio ese. It's very complicated. I hope you don't get lost. So, before you set off, or before setting off, I recommend looking at a map. I recommend looking at a map, or I recommend you look at a map before setting off, because if you set off without looking at a map, you could get lost. I recommend looking at a map before setting off. That way you won't get lost. I recommend looking at a map before setting off. That way you won't get lost. I recommend looking at a map. I recommend looking at a map. I recommend, en español diría es probablemente te recomiendo que veas o recomiendo que veas. En inglés decimos recomiendo, nunca te recomiendo. Siempre recomiendo viendo, literalmente. I recommend looking, o sea, recomiendo que mires o que veas un mapa o un plano. I recommend looking at a map. I recommend studying in the evenings. Oh, I recommend to study English. Oh, I recommend getting up early in the morning to study. I recommend watching this program every day. Gerundio siempre después. I recommend spending more time with English. I recommend looking at a map before setting off. That way, you won't get lost. I recommend looking at a map. I recommend coming earlier. I recommend spending more time. I recommend doing this. I recommend doing that. I recommend watching me.
Hi guys, Felicity here. Do you want to be more like me? Oh, of course you do. Well, today I have Felicity's 5 rules to be a happy person. Number 1, I recommend buying a puppy. Eso es, I recommend buying a puppy. Y no, I recommend buy. Y no, I recommend you buy. Sino, I recommend buying a puppy. Repeat. Oh, perfect, guys. I recommend buying a puppy, or 2 puppies, or 3 puppies, or 4, or... Okay, number 2. I recommend watching a musical, singing every day. Oh, it's so much fun. Number 3. I recommend watching a romantic comedy before work, first thing in the morning. So how could you not like love first thing in the morning? Oh. Number 4. I recommend giving strangers hugs. Oh, strangers on the metro, on the bus, giving them hugs. Oh, lovely. And number 5, for Felicity's fun, is spending time with friends and family. What could be more fun?
I recommend looking at a map before setting off. That way, you won't get lost. Pero ahora la palabra del día, the word of the day, que es verbo, to lean, escrito lean, to lean on, apoyarse en, I'm leaning on the table, or lean against, apoyarse contra algo horizontal, leaning against the wall. I'm leaning on the table, I'm leaning against the wall. I'm leaning on you. Lean on me, apóyate en mí, lean on me. Te ayudo a andar por la calle, lean on me. Escrito lean, to lean es apoyarse en, o apoyarse contra. To lean on, to lean against. Okay, I recommend looking at a map before setting off. To set off es emprender viaje. Salir de viaje, ya, emprender viaje. Ya salir, el momento de salir is to set off. When are you setting off? Or set out, también se puede decir. To set off or to set out. And I recommend looking at a map before setting off. Before setting off. To set off. Doble F, off. To set, S-E-T, set. To set off is emprender viaje. No hay que decir viaje. Simply to set off or to set out. I recommend looking at a map before setting off. That way, you won't get lost.
Hey, how's it going? Felicity has asked me to make her a packed lunch before she sets off on another one of her trips. Now, she's setting off in half an hour, so I'll have to be quick. But, sorry. I should explain. To set off means salir. So, come on, say this with me. Felicity has asked me to make her a lunch before she sets off. Okay, good. But I think she should bring me some more food before she sets off, no? I mean, I don't exactly have much choice. Let me call her. Hey, Felicity. Listen, I recommend you bringing me some more food before setting off, eh? I mean, I have an apple and a peach. Well, yeah, okay. Apple and peach sandwiches. Yeah, it's possible. Okay, and Felicity? I recommend looking up the address, eh? Before setting off. Okay. Now, Felicity? I recommend looking at a map before setting off, okay?
Hello again. I recommend looking at a map before setting off. Before setting off. That way, you won't get lost. That way, de ese modo, de esa manera, de esa forma. Así no te perderás. Perderse is to get lost. Estar perdido is to be lost. Pero para be lost hay que get lost. To get lost, no te pierdas por ahí en esas calles. Don't get lost. To get lost. But that way, de esa manera, así, recomiendo que mires un mapa primero antes de emprender el viaje. Porque de esa manera, de otra manera, o de esa manera, no te perderás. That way, así de sencillo. That way, this way, that way. That way, you won't get lost. And my friend, I don't want you to get lost with English. So, en el itinerario de aprender inglés, recomiendo un mapa también, un mapa de esfuerzo. So, I recommend looking at an effort map before setting off on your trip to learn English on the long journey. That way, you won't get lost. Seguidnos, a nosotros, follow us. We know the way. Yeah, we're the map.
Okay, now Felicity, my dear, don't forget to bring some water with you, okay? That way you won't get thirsty. And that way you won't get too hot in the sun. And don't forget to bring some food with you either, okay? Because that way you won't get hungry, of course. Okay, all right, now have a good trip. Okay, all right. Right, bye. That was just Felicity. She's going on another one of her trips with the guests. You know, she needs a lot of advice when she's going on a trip with the guests. That way she doesn't get too stressed, you know? Stress these days. Hey, at home, practice it with me now, okay? Let's say it together. That way, Felicity won't get stressed. Say it again. That way, she won't get stressed. Now practice it more at home, okay? That way you'll learn it. Good. Now, I always call her to give her advice. That way, there's a possibility that she won't make a mess of it. Oh, that poor girl. She's not right in the head, you know.